an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Now, an investigation into alleged bullying by Conservative Party youth activists will now be carried out by an independent law firm as the Tory chairman, Lord Feldman, continued to come under pressure to resign over allegations he failed to act. 21-year-old Elliot Johnson apparently took his own life after claiming he'd been subjected to bullying within the party. Before setting up an investigation, the Conservative Party said they had no record of written complaints about bullying prior to August, and Mark Clark denies any wrongdoing. We'll hear from Elliot Johnson's father, Ray, in a moment, but first, here's our political correspondent, Michael Crick.
The Prime Minister's Oxford friend and tennis partner, now party chairman, Lord Feldman, the former co-party chairman, Grant Shapps, the so-called Tatler Tory entrepreneurial campaign organiser, Mark Clark, and the 21-year-old activist at the heart of this tragedy, Elliot Johnson, who died in an apparent suicide, claiming he was bullied. The cast of a story that goes right to the top of the Conservatives. This was Elliot Johnson filmed while standing for the Tories in Nottingham during the local elections last spring. Happier times, for in mid-September, Johnson was found dead in Bedfordshire. It's thought he left a note accusing Clark, among others, of bullying him. Clark denies that, but 9 days later the party suspended him. Less than a month after that, they expelled Clark for life. They launched an inquiry, and this weekend Grant Shapps resigned as a minister. Isn't it time for Lord Feldman to fall on his sword as well? This afternoon, the Conservative board, the party's ruling body, met at campaign headquarters amid calls for Lord Feldman to follow Shapps and quit as party chairman. To express your confidence in Lord Feldman.
At this moment, I'd like to hear the facts, and then I will give you a statement after the meeting.
Do you still have confidence in Lord Feldman?
Absolutely, I have confidence in Lord Feldman. I think the issue is to find out what went on with complaints, if any were received about Mark Clark. We haven't established that yet.
The editor of the activist website Conservative Home, a former MP, has been leading calls for Feldman to go.
The interesting point in all this is that although Shapps' letter said that the buck stops with him, if you talk to friends of Shapps, they are absolutely insistent that the key decisions were signed off by Lord Feldman.
So in your view, Feldman should go?
Sadly, I think his position's untenable. That's a great shame.
A sign Feldman was probably safe, though, came mid-afternoon when 5 Tory MPs tweeted almost in unison their backing for him. That was confirmed an hour or so later when the leader of Tory backbenchers finally emerged. Is Lord Feldman still chairman?
Lord Feldman's still chairman. The board unanimously agreed that we should hand the conduct of the inquiry to Clifford Chance, a well-known and highly regarded law firm, and that we have asked Lord Panic, the crossbench peer, and he has agreed that he will have oversight of the process and certify that it is properly fair and independent of Conservative Party staff.
2 chairmen, one's gone, the other stays. Among other things, the inquiry will have to show the difference is nothing to do with being a pal of the PM. Michael Crick, Channel 4 News, Westminster.
Well, earlier I spoke to Elliot Johnson's father, Ray, and I started by asking for his reaction to the announcement of that wholly independent inquiry.
Well, I haven't heard anything from the Conservative Party as to whether they've making this inquiry thoroughly independent or not. If they have done so, then I welcome that. It's a guarded welcome until I've actually seen the report and I've had a chance to digest it. But if what they're saying now is that CCHQ and its officials are no longer a part of the inquiry, then we welcome that.
It seems rather surprising that a detailed statement has been put out to the media on this newly independent inquiry and that no one's told you about it.
Well, to be quite honest, it's not been a surprise. It wouldn't be a surprise to us because they haven't been keeping us in the loop all the way along. It took them about 3 weeks to actually send any letter of condolence to us after the death of Elliot. And the only time I've actually ever had any feedback from it is when I've actually been to them initially and requested some kind of information.
So, clearly one of your concerns was over the lack of independence of the inquiry until this point. But also, you've called for both Chairman Grant Shapps, former chairman, and Lord Feldman to quit. One of them has now done, but Lord Feldman hasn't.
Yeah, well, see, what you have to realise is that, OK, Shapps was the co-chairman before the general election in May, and he was a co-chairman when a number of complaints were made. But in the case of my son's complaint, his complaint wasn't made and he wasn't bullied until August. At that time, Lord Feldman was the sole chairman of the Conservative Party. Grant Shapps was no longer on the scene.
The statement today makes no mention of Lord Feldman's position, apart from the fact that he will not be at the board meeting that considers the findings of the inquiry. You can't help but suspect that there's a manoeuvre to protect Lord Feldman going on here. How does it look to you?
Lord Feldman's is a close personal friend of the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister, obviously through loyalty, I suppose, wishes to protect Lord Feldman, keep him in place. I think they see Lord Feldman as having been an effective chairman of the Conservative Party, but that doesn't change the fact that he was still the head of the Conservative Party while my son was being bullied, and subsequently died.
How many senior Conservatives have been in touch with you over the last few weeks about all this?
I have had personal letters from Conservatives, but with regards to senior Conservatives contacting me about Elliot's death and what they intend to do about it within the party, the answer would be none.
Did David Cameron write a letter of condolence?
I received a letter from David Cameron, but on a different matter, to do with the Young Britons Foundation, not to do directly with Elliot's death.
And are you absolutely certain in your mind that there can't have been other factors contributing to his state of mind, other than the Conservative Party?
Mark Clark was the main factor. He attacked Elliot in a pub. He physically restrained him in his seat while he grabbed him by the chin and harangued him for 40 minutes. Elliot had made a complaint to Conservative headquarters about Mark Clark's behaviour towards him. Mark Clark should clearly have been put into suspension at that time while the allegations were being looked into. He should have been told to keep away from the activists, but he wasn't.
I should obviously say that Mark Clark denies all the allegations, and the full picture is slightly confused. This isn't the first time that a political party has been accused of bullying and harassment. What do you think it is about Westminster that seems to be unable to sort these kind of complaints out?
All the political parties have had their problems of late. It's about time that an inquiry was set up into how bullying and issues of intimidation should be considered in the future. It can't have a situation where young activists are manipulated, harassed, harangued, and abused in the way they are, just so that a political party can get its way with them. They're using these young activists as a cannon fodder, basically.
Ray Johnson speaking to me just a little bit earlier.
I've been getting away with it all